All right, so I am Michelle Nusma. I'm a registered client service associate and integrator here at iWealth. I'm physically located out in Northern California, but I've been working virtually for Brad and iWealth for the last 14 years. So over the last 14 years, I've had the honor of working with Brad Connors. Brad created iWealth back in 1994 when he first started in the financial planning industry. Over the years, he has successfully grown iWealth to include 10 team members, which also includes now 3 wealth advisors. iWealth collectively manages more than 275 million in AUM, and that's working across 20 different states. While Brad has done an amazing job of growing iWealth, his core values that were a part of iWealth at the beginning are still who we are today, which includes being humble, hardworking, trustworthy, and most importantly, client-centered. And Brad truly has a passion for helping his clients, and he has an equal passion for helping other advisors grow their business. In 2014, he authored his first book, Fish Don't Clap, Planning for a Purposeful Retirement. And the meaning behind the book was to give away the valuable insight that Brad has gathered along the years as he's worked with his clients to define what retirement really means to them. The FDC Plan on Purpose website is a tool that has stemmed from the book as well, as he was needing a better process to record these important conversations that he's having with his clients. Over the last few years, Brad has actively worked on improving this tool, and we see the benefit that comes from it daily as he's sitting across from his clients and he can easily articulate the value that he's providing for them. So with that, I'm very excited to introduce to you Brad Connors, President and CEO of iWealth.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle. So guys, I'm super excited about today, and we're going to spend about 30 to 40 minutes just talking about your business and what we've done and what we've created here to help you guys. And we have several advisors. I talked to Mike, as you guys know, we have several advisors that are using FDC Plan on Purpose. And we're getting great feedback back. And that's really what our goal is. We want other advisors to use this to continue to gather feedback, continue to grow what we've built to help advisors be better. One of the things that we really want to focus on is helping other advisors live a life of significance. And I believe by using this tool, it's going to help you do so. But imagine this afternoon, you advisors that have clients, you have a client walk in for a client review meeting that's already been prepped for you. You have a husband and wife that you've dealt with for 10 years, and they're bringing in their daughter today from Ernst & Young in Indianapolis. And that daughter wants to review the process and what you've been doing for mom and dad and get an update. We know what's going on in the markets today. We know what's happened this year and how difficult things can be. But imagine what that review looks like. I'm going to ask you to pause on that, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about what that review could look like using the FDC tool and how it's fit into our plans as we continue to work. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so I can share a couple things with you, and then we'll get into the tool as well. So when I take a look at advisors' practices today, being in the business for over 25 years, these are some of the things that I see that are happening with all of us as we meet with clients, as we run our practices day to day. Everybody's talking about fee compression. We've all felt it. It's there. It's a race to the bottom. You've seen firms out there charging 0 for stock trades. You're seeing advisors out there getting under 1% for management fees. Fee compression is truly something that we have to deal with in the future. Justifying your fee to regulators. You know that we have to do a 12-month annual review for registered investment advisory assets, and we need to continue to justify our fee to regulators. Not being able to articulate our value to clients is important too. When we take a look at the values that we have and that we are able to provide for our clients, if we can't articulate those, we're in trouble as well. Keeping clients long-term from moving to another rep. It's harder to keep those, it's harder to bring in a new client than it is to keep your existing clients. We know we have those relationships. We know that we're getting paid. How do you continue to show up each day so that client continues to come in year after year for their review and find value in what you're doing? And then what about family members? We talked about your client review hypothetically this afternoon. What about that family member that comes in to check on mom and dad? How are those things going to go from a complaint standpoint or a CYA standpoint when it comes to articulating that value and what you're doing for mom and dad? So those are some things that I kind of see over the next, 2 to 3 years that are continue to take a look at our industry. But let's take a look at some opportunities that you have. You have an opportunity to articulate your value. Each and every time that you get in front of your client and show up, you have the opportunity to articulate that. You can get paid more than you are today. Fees matter in an absence of value. When you don't provide value, it's a fee discussion. When you provide value, it's not a fee discussion. And you can get paid more than your competitors are getting paid because you're going to provide value. You can grow your market share, and you can do it in your own target market, whatever that target market is that you have or that you want to go after. And you can use technology to win business and to keep it. And lastly, you have the opportunity to systematize your practice, to make things more repeatable so that you can show up each and every day and provide more value to those clients. What are some of the strengths that you guys have as advisors? You're already successful. If you're sitting here today and we're having this conversation, you've already been successful. This isn't about trying to take an unsuccessful advisor and help them be better. This is about already existing advisors and helping them be better. You're already there. You're independent, meaning you can use any of the products and things that you want in the future. If you've never thought about it, you're running your own small cap company. Whatever your name is, small cap, that's what you're running. And each and every one of us have to show up and be that entrepreneur with our practices. And you have freedom of choice. You have freedom of choice to choose what clients you want, what products you want, and what kind of practice you want to run for the future. Those are some things that are in front of you today that's exciting that you get the chance to work on. So one of the questions I have is these numbers, 88%, what does that represent? When we look at iWealth companies, this means that we've had a beneficiary review with 88% of our clients. We know this. What about your practice? Do you know your beneficiaries reviews? When you get into a meeting with a client, do you have those in front of you? 27%, what does that mean? 27% of our clients have a will that's done. It's completed. Again, in your practice, what are those percentages? In 57% of the iWealth companies, we've reviewed their taxes. We've helped take a look at it, and we've helped them make some adjustments or solidify what they were doing. Again, we didn't know these stats, guys, until we started to look at our practice in a different way, and we started to put planning on purpose. And that's where the website FDC comes into play. So what I want to do is I'm going to get into the tool and show you what you guys are going to have access to after we get off today's training session. So this is FDC, Plan on Purpose. FDC stands 4 days coming and Plan on Purpose. Very agnostic. You get the ability to put your own picture there, your own avatar, whatever you want to have as far as your piece, but it's very agnostic. When you take a look at the manager's page, this is just for iWealth and our managers. So again, I can click on here and I can change my avatar and I can choose a picture or whatever I want to choose as my avatar. It's got my name and my email. It's got a client registration link. We'll get into that in a second. Here's our disclosure statement. So whatever broker dealer you're with, you can put the disclosure in there and what states and those type of things. And then you can see Redtail integration. It's brand new. In fact, it's brand new today. And I was just testing it out before we got on our call today. So that's the manager side of things. Let me show you what it looks like from a client standpoint. So with the clients, you've got this invisible mode so that we can block out what their name is, or we can turn it on so that you can see those. And then it's just a searchable field. What I want to show you is this is our database. All these names, all these lines that you're seeing are clients that we've worked with over the last several years. Every single client I meet with is inside of here. Every single client has had this conversation that we're going to talk about. So I built into here a sample client And this is what it would look like when a client comes in. Now, we'll get rid of this, and we'll get rid of this. And before I get into my meeting, Dusty, our paraplanner, will have this prep for me. And she will have their first name, their last name, their email address, and their phone number that's in here. There won't be any avatar yet. And down here will be empty. And this is the future. So when a client comes in and we sit down and we talk about the weather or whatever happens, this is where we start every single client. Every advisor at iWealth starts every single meeting here. And if they're already existing client, they'll have an avatar choose what looks fun to them in this next phase of life. Whether they're retired or not, what looks fun. And they'll choose whatever that avatar is. Luke will pick his, and Jen will pick her avatar. And if they come back in, we'll laugh about it and say, hey, Luke, looks like you're going to be out on your boat, and Jen, you're on a plane going somewhere, and we'll have a little bit of a joke about it. But what's really important is every meeting starts here, guys. And it can be 12 months, it can be 3 years, it can be whatever time frame you want. But when I look at this, the conversation is Luke and Jen, last time you were in, you said over the next 12 months, what has to happen both personally and professionally for you to be happy? What has to take place? So every meeting begins with a positive focus. So in today's environment, with the markets being down and everything else, why not start with a positive focus? What are you excited about, Luke and Jen, for the future? And then update it. So they want to be healthy. They want to book a trip to Florida in 2 months in 2023. They want to get their kids back on track financially. They want to get the deck built, remodel the basement, replace the car. Look towards retirement. Whatever those things are that's important to them goes here. This is all about the clients, not about you and what they're super excited and looking forward to. That's the future. There's a book out there called The R Factor Question. It's from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. That's where that question comes from. If you want to read up on it more, go ahead and get the book. It's short, but it's a great question. Every client has it. In fact, I ask every team member that, and Trudy and myself too. So that's it on the first page, guys. What's their avatar? What are they looking forward to in the future? And then down here, there's some different settings, which we'll get back to in a second. Over on the far right-hand side, find your gaps. There's only 2 pages to this site. When you click to find your gaps, this is what pops up. When you first meet with your clients, there will be nothing here under short, intermediate, and long-term goals. Instead, where you'll start is right here. Plan on purpose. Which of these still need to be addressed? And so under Social Security, what is your plan with those clients? What are you doing? Luke plans on taking FRA, and Jen will wait until she's 70. Statements are on file. So we have those in our red tail imaging. When did we time date stamp this? February 11th, 2020. If we review it again today, I can click on this. I can click today. It ends and it saves. Now it's June 27th, 2022. What about our beneficiaries? Every client I have has a beneficiary review when they come in. This is what the paraplanner will do prior to me getting here. But we don't put any PII information in here, so you don't have account numbers. It's the SEI at IRA for Luke, primary is Jen, and contingent are children. The LPL account, the Pacific Life policy. And then down here, need to discuss if we need to change a contingent to last will and testament so that the trust is created with the children as to when they should get the money due to premature death. So we need to continue to update this as we go. But this is the ongoing story around these planning topics, guys. What's going on with cash flow? This is completed. Plan is retired age 66 and take $5,000 a month. Now they're ACHing $300 a month in American funds. June of 22, they now plan on retiring at 60. What's the story around the cash flow, the retirement plan? Not the illustrations. You're still going to use your e-money or Money Guide Pro or whatever you're using for cash flow, but what's the story around it? What about debt? What's the story? There is no debt in this case. Risk on investments. We did a Riskalyze score. It was 56 and it was done in 2020. Long-term care, what are they going to do around that? Ever been concerned that a client doesn't own long-term care and then you get sued someday about it? Well, Luke and Jen will sell 40 acres across the road to pay for this. They don't want to own long-term care insurance. They told me that on May 10th, 2016. I time date stamped it. What's the insurance discussion? What about taxes? We reviewed 2019 and 2020. We did a Roth conversion for 10K. Reviewed 2021 and their CPA. Guys, if you're a good advisor, which you are, these are saved somewhere, right? They're in your CRM, they're in notes, they're buried somewhere along the way. And it's not client facing. This doesn't allow you to articulate your value if it's buried in your CRM notes versus having it client facing and time date stamped and when you've had these conversations. What's the story around the will? We reviewed it in 2016, the notes from Brad. Kids get 25% at 25. So what are my notes? Just what's my interpretation of that will when we reviewed it with the client? Power of attorney, healthcare directives. Are they charity inclined? Have we reviewed outside assets? College expenses, what's the plan there? Needs attention. College 529 plans are established at John Hancock. However, we're not started withdrawals yet. Emergency funds or bucket discussion. Have they communicated with their family? Children are too young right now. We'll work on this in the future. Do they have a pension? And what's the story there? TRA at $3,000 a month. It's in iTrack, which is e-money for cash flow purposes. Are they a business owner? And then money management plan. You ever get to a client meeting, you don't know what you're charging the client? This is where we just keep track of what that money management plan and what we're charging that client. And so guys, this is all in front of you, client facing, so that you can have and articulate your value in front of the client. Now, it gets to be a lot, so you can just click on here and look at needs attention. These are just the things that need our attention right now. Or what have we completed if you want to show what you're done with already to show progress to your client. So you can toggle back and forth amongst these. And then what are the open items that are there? And so when you take a look at this, once you get done with this conversation, then I'll pop up here in front of the client and say, short term, what do we need to work on? We need to review the travel bucket so it's set for the next few years. Look in November for the Roth conversion based upon its input with the CPA. Get the money out to pay for college in 1 to 3. Review the overall risks we have associated with our assets again. In 3+ years, retire when we're 60 to live our best life. Whatever those things are here so that you can continue to show them what you're going to continue to work on in the future. Some of your meetings, you'll never get to your performance report. Some of your meetings will be right here as you start to archive and articulate your value to your clients, because it just takes some time. Some of the comments we've heard from other advisors using this, Brad, I know I'm going to sell more long-term care insurance. Some of the things that we've added are debt, so that we can have conversations about debt, as we have some people that work with debt with their clients. Charities is something that we've added. So we continue to evolve this as we go, but it's something that I use knee to knee with clients every single day, every single week, so that we continue to articulate our value. So what we do is when we're done with this, we go directly into e-money and we go through cash flow. We go directly into Riskalyze and we review their investments. And then we go to an Albridge statement and we go through their performance review. That Albridge statement, guys, it lasts anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes tops. The time is spent here as we go through and we talk about what's truly important to them as a client, and we focus on their needs and what they want to have done. Once you get this done and you're through with your appointment, then you can go back, and when they come back in for their next meeting, you have these short, intermediate, long-term goals right in front of you from a meeting prep standpoint. So you know what's important to them. You can see what needs attention. You'll click on the first part and you'll see what was important to them before they walk in your office. And you're going to update this in front of them. So it's a very simple tool that allows you to continue to have those conversations with your clients that are meaningful and impactful. A couple of the things that you can do for your clients is you can give them access. So you can give them read-only access, and you can send a welcome email so that they get their username and password and they can go in and they can see these things. You can also go ahead and click edit access so that they can have edit access if they want. For the most part, my clients don't have access to this. I don't have them have access to it because we are articulating it in front of them. But if they want it, we can offer it to them and give it to them. Another thing that you can do is you can send a prospect before they come in, not a client, a prospect. You can send them the short survey. The short survey down here is 8 questions that you might want to know before they walk into your office as a prospect. So do they think they're diversified from an investment standpoint? What about life insurance? Do they own life insurance? Have they ever owned it? Have they reviewed it for soundness? You can go ahead, the client can type in here whatever they want to tell you about life insurance. What's the retirement plan? They're saving for retirement. It's important to me. I've started to think about how much income I will need and support my retirement. Have they had a family plan discussion? Long-term care, what are their thoughts about that? Accumulation in life, have they started to save for their future? And if they have, do they know they have enough? They've run the numbers. Do they budget? And then legal documents, where are those at? Wouldn't it be nice to know those answers to those questions before a client even walks in your door? So we've created a process where we send this to a prospect along with the Riskalyze quiz. And we have the Riskalyze quiz done, and we have this done before they walk into our office. Then we know what items are their hot buttons that they want to have addressed as we go through it. And you can save these. So one of the features that we've just added, one of the things you can do, if I go back to your gaps, again, there's really 2 pages. One of the things that you can do is you can print this page. And so some people have said, you know, can I print this? Can I save it? What can we do? And you can make this a PDF. And it's all the answers and everything that's going on that we just got done going through. So you have those things that you can save if you want to. One of the things that we just got going is you can send this to CRM. So if you're using Redtail, we have the ability where you can take this and you can send it. So here's that information again. And you can create a note. And this links up to Redtail and it sends it in there. As long as the email address matches, it'll go into Redtail, just like it looks like when you print the page. And now you time date stamped in Redtail the conversation that you're having with these clients as well. So I'm going to pause there and ask for questions about what you see or some thoughts that you might have.
You know, Brad, I'll just make the observation, you know, one of the reports that I like to use on a regular basis when I have someone come in, for example, for e-money, you know, I like to use that net worth, historical net worth, you know, so they can actually see over time, you know, how things are coming along and, you know, and then, you know, document that in Redtail. So, you know, clients always have that kind of high watermark in their mind, right? You know, they remember when their investments were, you know, $200,000 more than they were today, you know, or, you know, gee, it doesn't feel like we've made any progress over the last year and a half. Well, okay, we can go back in and document that, you know, over the last 2 years, we you know, had your net worth increase by, you know, X dollars, you know. So I like this, like you say, it documents exactly the conversations you've had and the ability to go back in and see the progress that you've helped those clients make over the years, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you know, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Patrick. So yeah, absolutely. And then how many times have we reviewed like a tax return and, you know, something came to mind, or we reviewed their will or something kind of came up. If we have that in here right now, right in front of the client, we have the ability to pull it up and to go back to that will that we reviewed, you know, years ago and say, oh yeah, this is what we thought was the issue, or this is what we thought would happen if something happened to you. It's just so helpful to those clients. What other observations or questions that people have?
Hey, Brad, Matt, do you upload their wills and stuff into this, or are you still using Redtail for that?
It's a really good question. We still use Redtail. So we use Redtail imaging for our document storage.
Okay.
That's why this is approved. There's no PII information other than name and email address.
Okay.
So, yeah, you would put the story in here around it, but the actual
Right.
document, you would have it retained where it needed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens, guys and gals, is that it's hard to change your meeting. We've learned this throughout time. We're used to it. We do it every single day with our clients. But one of the, we've got other offices that are using this, and it just takes a little bit of time to change because you're used to having your folder in front of you or your yellow pad in front of you. And so I just suggest that you start to use this with existing clients. The next clients that come in, just get their name in there and their email address and their beneficiaries, and that's it. And just say, hey, we have this new tool that we're starting to use right now. This is kind of fun. You get to choose what that avatar looks like for your future. What looks fun for you guys to do down the road? What looks interesting to you? Let them choose that. And then when you go down here, it's going to say your future, and that's it. Type in 12 months and just say, hey, over the next 12 months, what has to happen personally and professionally for you to be happy? And then just start to document. Start to document what's important to them. And it's not going to be, it could be, hey, I hope the markets get better, but it's also going to be about kids and family and travel and buying a new car or whatever those things are important to them. That's a positive way to start the meeting. And then flip over here to your gaps and say, listen, we're going to put together some short, intermediate, long-term goals. We're not going to focus on that right now. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that we've done. And you don't have to pre-fill all this in. You say Social Security. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know you've been drawing Social Security. When did you turn that on? We started at age 65. And you can document that on there. And you can put it as completed. And then beneficiaries, open it up and do your beneficiary review that your assistant did for you. And in cash flow, Patrick, that's where you would go in and say, listen, we looked at your cash flow. You know, things have been set for $4,000 a month. It seems like that's good cash flow for you. We've been doing this since 2018. You know, what's the story around cash flow? And then debt. Do they have debt? What are their thoughts? Do they want to get out of debt? What's the progress? Should we get the credit cards paid off first and then the home, or what should we do? And just kind of walk your clients through these things. And you might get to a half hour in and say, you know what, we're going to pause and we'll work on the rest of these later. And then go over to your e-money, Patrick, and go into that, or go to your Allbridge dream and, you know, get into your performance or whatever you want to do. This is a process that you take your clients through, but you will absolutely articulate your value and you'll be able to justify your fees based upon doing this process. And you're already doing it, by the way. You're good advisors. You're just not documenting so they can see it. What other questions?
Are you charging in addition to, I saw like on one of your, the fee discussions that you had, like SEI at 1% and then the, LPL swim or whatever at 1%. Are you charging any type of fees in addition to kind of the asset management fees, or are you using this as the complement to that to say, hey, we're not just parking your assets at SEI and having them manage it, and then we're doing all this other stuff, and here's the documentation thereof? Or like say, are you charging in addition to those AUM fees?
It's a really good question. So we are doing very little of additional fee. We're using this to help justify the fee that we're charging them at SEI.
Right.
I believe that outside management is a commodity. Yep. Personally, I don't think a value proposition is picking the right ETFs and mutual funds. I think you can hire that out and outsource it and get great money management. I believe that we get paid for asking these questions and making sure that our clients get their wills done, that we've did the beneficiary reviews for 85% of our clients, that we've got 27% of our clients that have their wills done, and 57% of them have their taxes reviewed. That's where we get paid, Patrick. And so we use, it's a really good question, but that's why we use this to justify our fees.
Well, and again, it's a fantastic differentiator. Everybody says that they do these things, but how many practices out there actually do it and document it the way you guys are doing?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Dream, you have some questions?
This is Matt. I got another question. So
Yeah, Matt.
I would assume that none of your clients have 100% completed in their thing. Is that because there's always something that you want to update just to kind of keep that fee rolling?
Absolutely. So, we got to do a tax review every single year. So that comes to needs attention every year. That's going to be needs attention. There's always something that we're working on. They're going to be start to file Social Security or the family meeting, or they're going to be selling their business or something like that. So there seems to be something that's always open. That's correct.
Brad, it's Robin. Does it automatically switch back to needs attention, or is that something you have to do before they come in?
Nope, they're going to be open. So when you set up a brand new client in here, they're all going to be open. So there's going to be nothing in there. So you'll just open them as you go, and you're going to choose whether it needs attention or it's completed.
But if, say it's the third year that they're coming in and now we need to look at their tax return again, will it switch to needs attention, or we have to change it to that?
Good question. You're going to switch to needs attention on your meeting prep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, good question.
This is Jamie. You're using this with Redtail, so your tasks and everything are in Redtail. This is just your client-facing meeting guide.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So when I get done, guys, with my meeting, I have a client meeting agenda that I'm taking notes on, and there's 6 to-dos, let's say. I'm going and dictating that, and I'm giving it to my assistant, and they are creating follow-up alarms in Redtail to make sure those things get done. This is for me and the client to work on. Now, some of these things up here for short, intermediate, and long-term could be on my client meeting agenda for someone, a task for my team to work on. But really good question. Those tasks are still going to live in Redtail because I want to make sure somebody's accountable to them. And most likely they're a workflow that they're working on in the office. Good questions. What else?
When you forward those over to Redtail, are they, those items, where you've got the kind of the discussion header there, for example, at the bottom of your Social Security review there, the notes that you type in there, do you have to open those, and have them visible before you transfer it to Redtail, or how does that work in Redtail to actually see what you've done over there?
Let's see. So this is what I just put in on 11/26 today when I clicked on it. So this is where, so I'm in notes, guys. If you click on it and pull it open, this is what it looks like.
Oh.
So it'll put in those notes that you go through. And then at the very bottom, so like here's the will. At the very bottom, then, you can even type another note if you wanted to, Patrick. Yeah. And the main reason I wanted this in there, one, it's kind of a redundancy. But 2, let's say that you used FDC plan on purpose for 2 years, and then you were going to do something different, and you didn't want to use FDC anymore. You could go and send it to Redtail, and at least you would have all that information that you've been working on, time, date stamped, so that you would have it yourself. It's in there. Yeah. Any other questions? So again, my main thing that I would like to have you guys do is just to get started. The hardest thing is now, once we hit go and we get you access to this, is to open it up in front of a client. And so I just encourage you to try, be willing to fail. There's really nothing that's going to fail in the system, but be willing to fumble through it. Have fun with the avatar. Clients like picking a picture on there. You'll see them smile, joke about it. You'll see them take 2 minutes as they look through each one of those pictures to try to find out who it is. And then ask them what's important about their future. What are you looking forward to? And start every meeting there, and then just start to get into some of these planning topics. But the hardest thing I will tell you is just to get started. Once you get there, you'll go ahead and you'll be okay. And you'll be able to use it. We've got great feedback. What I would like is a survey from you guys in about 60 days that we'll send that gives us more input and more feedback so that we can continue to work on this. We've allowed Investment Centers of America to use this at 6 months, no cost. So there's no fees or anything like that for you guys to use this. You got 6 months to play around with it, use it with clients, articulate your values, see what's important. But the type of advisors that this fits with are people that position themselves as wealth planners, that they put an emphasis on planning versus just investment returns. They're advisors that don't focus just on low cost. They want to, get paid a fee, but provide value for the fee. If they've got clients that are calling them for decisions on buying a new house and traveling, those advisors seem to fit for this. If their value proposition is, not picking better mutual funds than their competitors, it seems to fit. If they use technology, guys, you need to use a TV or a computer screen that you turn so that they can see this in front of them. So you've got to make sure that you're set up that way too. And if they're advisors that live by the golden rule, to treat their clients just as you want to be treated. If this is your mom and dad and they're sitting in front of an advisor, you want them to go through these type of questions and you want it documented. So I just want to end with this. So imagine again that client comes in this afternoon. Their existing client, their daughter works for Ernst & Young, and it's a meeting, a client review meeting that you've had many times before, but now the daughter's there. And you get over to the gap section, and the only thing that's left is the family communication, because you haven't had the family communication yet. And so you sit down with your clients and you sit down with Caroline, their daughter, and you go through their avatars and laugh about that. You go through the future and you talk about what's important to mom and dad in the future. And then you flip it over to the gap section and you open every single one. You start at Social Security and you tell their daughter what the plan was around Social Security. And then you open up and you do a beneficiary review for their daughter. And then you look at cash flow and you show them about their taxes and what you wanted and what you've done around those. And you show them the will and the thoughts around that. And you get to the family meeting and you joke and say, finally, we can make this completed. And you type a note in there that you met with Carolyn today and you went through FDC Plan on Purpose. You get done with that, you go through eMoney, you go through Riskalyze, and you go through your performance report. And you get done with the meeting and you ask Carolyn, do you have any other questions about anything? And she looks at her mom and dad and says, Mom and Dad, I think things are great with what you're doing right now. The only issue is Brad's brought up a couple times about Roth conversion. Your CPA has not been on board. And I think you might need a second opinion from your CPA. Guys, there's no doubt that Carolyn's going to be my client someday. When mom and dad die, those assets are staying with us. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's not a client prior to mom and dad dying. That's what's important about this website. Now, you could go through and just have a conversation and have some notes in front of you that these are some things that you did, or you can pull up FDC Plan on Purpose and articulate your value in front of the trusted daughter that someday is going to take over for mom and dad. That's the power behind this. That's why we built it. And I think you guys will see that as you go through this as well. All right, so here's what we'll do, guys. We'll have Michelle go ahead and get you guys out an email to get signed up for FDC Plan on Purpose. Would love your feedback. You're gonna have our email, our contact information. Get a hold of us with anything. I know that you'll love it once you get using it, but again, just try to get over the hump, get the first client in and open it up and get using it. And I think you'll enjoy it. So thanks a lot for your time today and good to see everybody.
Hey, Brad, I got one question for you. As far as like
Yeah.
a team, like we kind of all share clients, is that one login we have, or does each person have their own kind of clients in there that we input?
You
Or
want
if
to go
I,
ahead, Michelle, and take that?
Yeah, so we can set it up a couple of different ways. I can set it up as one manager and add in assistants underneath that. I can have multiple different databases, however you want us to set it up. I can do it either way. So if
So
you
if
prefer
I
to have your
input
own,
one, yeah, I have my client, but then Patrick wants to take the next lead with it and kind of keep knocking away notes. He can still see that client in there.
correct. If you're all within the same database, you'd all have access to all the clients within that database. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way we would want that.
Okay.
It's the same way, it's the same way we do it here, guys. We have one database and everybody has access to it. That way, if I'm out of the office, you know, Sean can pull it up or JP or whoever. It's a good way to do it.
Very good. Thanks, Brent.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.